Before you watch this video, I mispronounced the word citrine the entire time. I'm sorry about that. What's up guys, it's your boy RedCloud. Today we're going to be going over the best Circlet Citrine gems that you can use for Circe's ring. We're going to be going over each and every single one of them, and guess what, there's really not a lot of variation between what the best in slot is for most of these. I, however, use a different one for the singing actual Citrine slot that I'll show you guys, which I enjoy personally using, only because of like how I think about it. But I'll show you guys which ones are essentially the best according to Wowhead, and it's pretty straightforward for most classes. The Stormbringer's Rune Citrine, the Fathom Dweller's Rune Citrine, and the Legendary Skipper's Citrine. They're all essentially the best for... There are some that are situationally better for raiding, and some better for Mythic Plussing. However, as you can see here for Unholy Death Knight, it literally just looks like it's exactly the same. So Fathom Dweller, if you guys don't know, if you have not gotten these on the Siren Isles, all of these runes are available in the Siren Isles, by the way. It essentially increases your mastery by 1500, for example, and it increases the effect of other Citrine gems by the total amount of mastery that you have as well. So if you're a class that prioritizes mastery, this is a very good patch for you. It's really, really good because it will increase the base stat of all the other gems. And I'll show you guys an example of that shortly. People are saying to use this legendary one, the Skipper one. What that one does is your spells and abilities have a chance to cast a random singing Citrine effect at 150% effectiveness. I'm going to show you guys why that might not be useful. I'm going to show you guys why it might be useful and why I don't use it as well. And then there's the Stormbringer's Rune Citrine one, which is pretty much every secondary stat gives you a flat amount of it. And of course, the Fathom Dweller's one does affect that one as well. There is another one that people are using, which is Thunderlord's Crackling Citrine. This one is pretty useful for single target fights, or if your secondary stats are just so much better. The Stormbringer's one is just pretty much BiS. And then for some tanks, like Blood DKs don't care about that, but Guardian Druids, for example, they can rock with the Undersea Overseer Citrine, which apparently just bounces to 2 enemies and deals frost damage to them. I'm not sure if that's better if Guardian Druid doesn't care about mastery. But yeah, I'll go into some examples as to what could be better in some situations. This article will be in the description of the video, so you guys can check that out. Look at what specifically Wowhead is recommending, but most of them are essentially all exactly the same. And I want you guys to like start thinking about like why these gems are better in some situations than most. So for me, like I said, I'm using things a little bit differently. I'm using the Squall Sailor Citrine, which I personally like a lot. Your spells and abilities have a chance to slice 5 enemies with a rushing sea breeze, dealing 150k nature damage to each of them, right? So each take 150k damage. And then this one is where I've got the 627 of every secondary stat, which is the Stormbringer's one, and the Fathom Dweller's one. So this one grants 1826 mastery, and all other singing Citrine effects are increased based on your total mastery. So I'm going to take this one off real quick and show you guys what changes with this. This is the base damage for me. Grants 571 of every secondary stat, and it only does 142k for each of these procs. So that's why the Fathom Dweller one is pretty much BiS. You never want to take that one off ever, just because of how good it is. There are some situations probably where healers are not using that, or if you have already really high mastery, there might be a mastery cap or something. Other than that, I'll show you guys what it looks like using this setup. I like this one for Mythic Plus because it just feels like it just does a lot of damage. We're gonna go to current fight here, and then let's just start off with a basic AoE. So as far as the damage goes, obviously we're pumping a little bit of damage, nothing too crazy. But I'll show you guys what it looks like at the end of this real quick. So if we go to our details, so the Squall Sailor Citrine right here, it has 5 procs, and it did roughly about 1 million damage, which is 2.2% of our DPS. Even though it's not like an insane amount of damage, like 1 million damage done in a very short amount of time, to me, like it's like over the length of time, it could definitely add up to be an insane amount of damage later on. I'm going to show it on details. All right, we're going to do the same thing on details. It's a little bit better for like actually showing like what's going on. So yeah, let's see how many procs we get with the Citrine go from there. We'll do a bit of damage. We'll do like 50 mil damage and then we'll just stop. So as you can see here, this is the data from details, right? So the Squall Sailor Citrine is doing 8.29 million DPS on a 50 million damage fight, 63 million damage fight, sorry about that, which is 13% of my total DPS on an AoE fight. And the reason why I like it is because it's actually really consistent. It does a lot of damage over time, over a longer period of a fight, which could be better in like higher keys or fights that require a lot of DPS AoE, like Brood, stuff like that. That's why I'm assuming, for me, I'm going to keep rocking with the Squall Sailor Citrine. I think it's BiS for Mythic Plus instead of the 150% effectiveness one. The reason why I don't like this one, like at all, actually, I don't like it at all. I don't even know why people are suggesting it. Your spells and abilities have a chance to cast a random singing Citrine effect at 150% effectiveness. So there are 10 gems that I'm aware of. So that means you have a 10% chance to get something that is worth it for you at any given point. However, obviously, that does mean that when you get a good proc, it's really good. It means that like you can get 150% this Wind Singers, which is about 3,000 secondary stat. You can get 150% of this Mastery one, 150% of the secondary stat one. You can get 150% of the Squall one as well. The Stamina, the Thunderlord, it gets 150% of each of these, right? And it's a proc based on your spells and abilities. So we'll see how many times it procs, but as far as consistency goes, you could literally RNG the worst RNG ever. Well, you could get the Stormbringers one. That would be like 800 secondary stat one, not necessarily doing damage. It does increase your damage, but not necessarily by like, you know, 8 million or whatever. You could get the Stamina one, which gives you 20,000 stamina, and that doesn't increase your damage at all. You could also get the one where you're healing people over time, 3 times in a row. You could be getting a whole bunch of stuff that literally doesn't fucking matter at all. So pretty much that's why I don't want to give it up to chance to determine like how much damage I'm doing, even though procs are a thing in this game and everything. But I'm just saying, like, as far as consistency, I'm vibing with this Squall one right now. So let's try out what it looks like for this. And we'll just do the same amount of damage, keep building up the same amount of damage, the same type of rotation. We're gonna do around, I'll even do more DPS, honestly, but you can see the procs up here when you see the actual Citrine proc. It'll just show up as like the other gems. But we might not even get any of these gems anywhere. It's like I said, it's a chance. All right, so we're at 60 mil, 70 mil. So in 70 million DPS, didn't get a single proc of DPS that benefited us whatsoever. We got 1 proc of the Undersea Overseer Citrine, which was 1 million damage, not even a million DPS. It was 1 mil, less than a mil, which is 1.3% of our damage. All right, so that being at 150% didn't proc off any of my abilities at all. Maybe it's just bugged for marksmanship, hunter, but I doubt it. And it was useless, literally useless compared to the damage I did off of the Squall. So I could run it again, but what I'm saying is that like this gem, even though it's BiS, actually pretty shit. I'm not gonna lie to you. It's not very good because you RNG the worst actual Citrine gems and then you're screwed. So that's pretty much it. So at this point, I wouldn't suggest using it, but you guys can do your own testing. I feel as if like this gem is not good, but that's just me. The other gem that I would recommend if you don't want to use like the Squall Sailors one, if you're more interested in like single target DPS, I would recommend the Wind Singers Rune Citrine, because this one will give you 2.5 of your highest secondary stat depending on your mastery, which for me would increase my critical strike by 4%. Critical strike is my best stat. So this one is fantastic in my opinion if you don't have a class that can necessarily proc this much, or if you're looking for a single target build. That's what I would do. The other thing that I would do for a single target build, you could mess around with the Thunderlord's Crackling Citrine. This one could be potentially very good as well, but I don't know. That one's hit or miss. Depends on like how many procs you get off one. I still have to do quite a bit of testing on that one, but if you want to play it safe, just go ahead and use the secondary stat one, the Stormbringers one, and just use like the flat base secondary stat, the Fathom Dweller one. And then that's what I would use for single target. But yeah, for AoE, going with the Stormbringer, Fathom Dweller, and the Squall Sailors, and then that's where I'm at right now. Well, anyways, guys, hopefully this video helps you narrow down, you know, what gems could be potentially your class for Mythic Plus for rating. And hopefully, you know, you guys get better results with Squall Sailor's gem, or also even the Skipper one, because it just seems to be really bad for me. Other than that, I hope you guys have a fantastic rest of your day. Be sure to like the video. Be sure to, you know, comment how I should properly pronounce a word that I don't know how to pronounce. Peace out.